Hello and welcome to yet another one of these movies. In this case I'm going to apply a bit of dynamics to an individual track, which is a track of me speaking. So we'll play around with the dynamics a bit just to see if we can do a bit of gating and a bit of compression and a bit of limiting, and hopefully this will produce a more even version of what I speak. Okay, right, new session. Same as the last few movies. I'm going to call this Protools movie 4. Hopefully we don't have to do a 4B at any point. Okay, I'm going to make a new track and record myself speaking. Okay, I'll call this once again Ross speaking. Over here I'm going to find, you can't see this, but what I'm doing is I'm bringing up Google. Yeah, so this is more professional than the Pobble who has no tools. Great. Here's a poem I don't know. The Dong with a Luminous Nose, okay, by Edward Lear. That will do. Get recording ready to go. I'm going to have a little transport window up here. Okay, that's all ready to go. Is my count off on or not? I don't know. Never mind, I'll soon find out. Okay, I'm over at the ENGT5123. I've got my low latency monitoring on, and let's go. The Dong of a Luminous Nose. When awful darkness and silence reign over the great Groom-Billund plain, through the long, long wintry nights, when the angry breakers roar as they beat on the rocky shore, when storm clouds brood on the towering heights of the hills of the Chankly Bore. Okay, I should have read that one first. It's got some strange words in it. That is Edward Lear, of course. Okay, I'm back on the narration mic, and let's have a look at what we've got here. First, I'm going to zoom in a bit so I can see what I've got. Grab a tool. I'm going to normalize it. Okay. Magic number -3 dB. Okay. That's actually probably a bad choice. I think that's not actually the poem there. And that's got the very loudest bit. So I probably should have trimmed that out first. But it'll be good enough for today. The Dong of a Luminous Nose. When awful darkness and silence reign over the great Groom-Billund plain. Okay, I was actually wrong there, because that was actually the start of the poem. Here's a bit of a gap. What have I got here? Let's go into waveform selection. That's just sort of the room tone, the sound of this room. I'm going to normalize just that bit to -3 dB, and we'll see what the room actually sounds like when it's really, really loud. Okay, there is actually a fair amount of sound there. I can undo, and if I undo the normalize, that goes back. Okay, I think that's actually... Okay, I should have read that. Okay, that's nothing I don't want. So let's bring that back there. And we might be able to see the whole lot. I'm going to trim the front off as well. Move it to the start, the whole thing. And there we go. Right, let's get the mix window up. Mix. Okay. So what I'm going to do is that if we play this back, we'll see me talking. The Dong of a Luminous Nose. Actually, I'm going to quickly add a bit of reverb. I think this will sound better if I add a bit of reverb. So just quickly add an insert. And once again, I'm going to use a room reverb. I'm going to put myself in a hall or something like that. Hall, medium hall. Okay, that's fine for the reverb. Bus, I'm going to read from bus 1 to 2. Send from my voice to bus 1 to 2. Bring the send up to 0 dB. Space. The Dong of a Luminous Nose. When awful darkness and silence reign over the great Groom-Billund plain, through the long, long wintry nights when the angry breakers roar as they beat on the rocky shore. There's a lot of strange noises in there. The Dong of a Luminous Nose. When awful... Yeah, vocal clicks. Very hard to get rid of. Yes, okay. Anyway, that'll do for the meantime. What I want to do now is start actually playing around with dynamics. So I'm going to put an expander gate into here. Okay, what happens is it basically, here's the threshold, any of the loud sound goes through unchanged. The soft sound, if we put the ratio way up, anything soft gets completely chopped off. So this is what's called an insert effect, and fundamentally it's the computer's fast enough so we can actually apply these effects as the sound's being played back. We're not modifying the audio actually stored on disk. The dong of a luminous nose, when awful darkness and silence reign over the great Broombilun. You actually hear that I'm chopping off the beginnings and ends of words. I'm going to bring the ratio down to something a bit more gentle. The dong of a luminous nose, when awful darkness and silence reign over the great Broombilun plain, through the long, long wintry nights when the angry breakers roar. I brought the threshold down a bit, so it's only the quieter bits which are being affected. The rest of it's going through unchanged. And what's happening now is that the gaps between the words are getting chopped off, but it's not quite vicious, so the words still sound quite natural. The dong of a luminous nose, when awful darkness and silence reign. That strange clicking sound is my voice. That's not anything to do with the electronics. Okay, what I'm going to do though is I'm actually going to, because I think that's fairly well set up, so threshold of negative 37.8 and a ratio of 5.3. I could have that as an insert effect, or I could actually apply it to the whole thing as an audio suite effect. There we go, expand the gate. So it was a threshold of negative 58 or something like that, and a ratio of say 5.3. Okay, that doesn't look right. I think I remembered it wrong. Anyway, probably that'll be okay. Let's see, we can always Control Z. Okay, and undo it. So I've actually modified, using the same plugin, modified the audio on disk. The dong of a luminous nose, when awful darkness and silence reign over the great Broombilun plain, through the long, long wintry nights when the angry breakers roar as they beat on the rocky shore, when storm cloud... Okay, so the quieter bits, if we actually zoom in, should have become very, very quiet. Let's actually zoom in and see what we get. I think those are those clicks. Yeah, they are. Gone. When awful dark... See this here, we play this back. Are we on loop playback? We are now. There's nothing there. Okay, it's not looping playback. Never mind. Okay, what it's done is it's taken the bits in between and made them very, very quiet. Let's see if we can spot any more of my vocal clicks. Beginning, we can get rid of that. I think that might be one. No, it's something different. What's that? Plane, plane, plane. I think it's a p of plane. So we'll leave that in. Somewhere around there might be some other little clicks. Breakers, breakers. No. Okay, I can't see any immediately, so I'm not going to be able to chop them off like I could those other two. Anyway, so that's one little way of modifying it, which is to apply the expand the gate. So what I'm going to do is now put a compressor on it. A compressor, basically, what it will do is it makes the louder bits quieter and leaves the quiet bits to go through unchanged, which makes it more even. Okay, let's see what it sounds like. Let's select a whole lot. Temporarily put that over there. Select a whole lot. It should be on loop playback. Okay, and if I hit play on the transport window. The dong of a luminous nose, when awful darkness and silence reign. Okay, can you see when it goes above the threshold, that little square goes red? What that's saying is that compression is taking place. Compression of 3 to 1, which is what we got here, means that once you get above the threshold, for every 3 steps up the input goes, the output goes up 1 step. So it's like up to the threshold, which we set, sound comes in at the same volume it goes out. Sound goes out at the same volume it comes in. Above the threshold, what will happen is that the louder bits get squashed a bit. So overall, it's more even. The dong of a luminous... Now, can you see it's also got a bit quieter? The input level and the output level. The output level is a bit quieter because the louder bits have got squashed. The dong of a luminous nose. I can use makeup gain to actually adjust for that. The dong of a luminous nose. When awful darkness and silence reign over the great Broombilun plain. Okay, I can now compare those two because fundamentally they're about the same volume. So if I hit the bypass, that turns this compressor off. The compressor is an insert effect, which means it's running in real time, and I can turn it on or off with this bypass switch. The dong of a luminous nose, when awful darkness and silence reign over the great Grumbilund plain, through the long, long wintry nights when the angry breakers roar as they beat on the rocky shore, when storm clouds brood on the towering heights of the hills of the Chankly Bore. I think it sounds slightly more professional with the compressor. I'm going to put a second compressor. This one has negative 21.6 decibels. So I'm going to put a second compressor on. This one's going to have a threshold which is well over negative 26, so it's up really, really high. And I set the ratio to be absolute as high as I can get. What this means is if the sound gets up to this volume here, it's completely clamped at that volume. It can't get any louder. That's good if you really want to keep control of your audio, so you can guarantee it doesn't get beyond, plus or minus a few things we'll discuss, a certain level. So that's called a limiter, which is a compressor, where once you get above the threshold, you're clamped at that level. We've got one compressor, which has got a lower threshold, it's more gentle. Another one, which has got a higher threshold, but is a limiter, and those two together often help give a more professional sound. Let's try this. The dong of a luminous nose, when awful darkness and silence reign over the great Grumbilund plain, through the long, long wintry nights when the angry breakers roar as they beat on the rocky shore. It's not sounding very different, but what it is, you can see it is being limited at that level, which means it's going to be easier to mix in with other sounds, which I'm not going to do at the moment because every time I try and import music, it quite frequently crashes a bit. Okay, so that's a little bit of dynamics there, a little bit of dynamics processing, and typically on speech, you'll often apply two compressors like this. One is a more gentle one with a lower, one is a more gentle one with a lower threshold, and one which has a higher threshold but is a limiter, so that your voice is more constrained in terms of its dynamics. If you're mixing it in with other sounds, that makes it a lot easier to actually make it so you can hear both this sound and the other one. Okay, that's the end of this movie, and the next one I'm going to look at a bit at filters.